First graders, math today is where those three-dimensional shapes that you made are really going to be helpful. You need your book, pencil and eraser, and if you have those three-dimensional shapes sitting somewhere, I think it might help you out if you had them with you. All right, boys and girls, lesson 11.5, two-dimensional shapes on three-dimensional shapes. Now, this is what you did when you made your three-dimensional shapes, right? You had a flat two-dimensional piece of paper, and you cut out two-dimensional shapes, and you put them together to make a three-dimensional shape. So today, if you have a cone to use, either one of your own or one from somewhere else, go ahead and grab it. That's going to be really helpful. If you don't have a cone, you're going to have to imagine really hard and use the drawing to help you. All right, guys, so a cone is one of those shapes that has flat sides and curved sides, right? So what you're supposed to do down here in this space, think about which shape you would draw, which two-dimensional shape you would draw if you took a cone and you put its flat side down here on the paper and you traced it. So we're not going to be putting the curved edges down so it's rolling around, right? You're going to be putting down the flat side so it would just stand there and trace around it. What shape would you have there? All right, model and draw. Trace around the flat surfaces of the three-dimensional shape to find the two-dimensional shapes. Do you see how they did that with this rectangular prism? Here's this end right here. Here's this side traced to get right there. Here's this side traced right here. This back end is right there. This side over here that we can't see is right there. And then the bottom side is right there. So if you actually have extra paper and your shapes, trace those shapes. You know, trace around the sides of them. Actually take a cube or a cone. I have a water bottle here. We're going to pretend this is a cylinder, right? It's a cylinder, just bumpy. If I take my cylinder and I set it down, first you're going to get a lovely shot of the top of my water bottle, aren't you? But here I go. I'm setting it down and tracing around it. Look what I drew. So you guys are going to be thinking about that as you put down those different sides of things. What shapes do you draw for a cube? Now, of course, up here, they drew all 6 sides of that rectangular prism, right? And you are not going to be circling all 6 items, right? Because there's only 4 anyways. So take a look at just the flat surfaces. So here, when you're thinking about this cylinder, this curved side here, like this part of my water bottle, that's not a flat surface, is it? It rolls. So we're not tracing those parts, just the parts that are flat, that can stand and stay put. Rectangular prism, you have a lovely model for that right up here. All right, next page. Circle the object you could trace to draw the shape. So here's this lovely rectangle. Which of these things would you trace the flat side? Go ahead and write the word flat up here. Because you could maybe try to trace this curved side of the cylinder really carefully to get a rectangle, but we're not really talking about curved sides, we're talking about flat sides. So which of these have a flat side that would be a rectangle? Which of these have a flat side that would be a circle? Ooh, which of these have a flat side that would be a square? And which of these have a flat side that would be a different type of rectangle? Now, boys and girls, here is one. I'm not sure if I gave you one of these or not. This is not a shape we have studied. This is a pyramid, right? I showed you the wooden cube pyramid that we would have, or not wooden cube, obviously. It's not a cube, it's a pyramid. Cubes are all squares. This is not a square, is it? But I showed you the triangular pyramid that we would have if we were at school, that you could use the wooden block of it. So imagine if you traced it, what shape would you end up with? Go ahead and draw that over here in this space. Last page. This is just like what you cut out, right? Imagine if you folded this, cut it out and folded it together on the dotted lines, what would you get? And what would you get? You've done that already, guys. You did one almost identical to this one. What would you get if you cut this out and put it together? And then down here, a cube. Which flat surface does a cube have? Fill in the circle. Graders, today's lesson was one of those times where the extra things that we do earlier to really practice and stick it in our brain make what we're doing right now a lot easier. So before, when you guys did all that work of cutting out all those shapes and taping them together, that was a lot of work. I know that. But that makes a job like this one here that you had today so much easier because you really have a good sense in your mind for what those shapes are like.